Welcome to the WFNL Show, presented by Arrow Transport, proud naming rights partner of the Western Football Netball League. Great to have you with us this week. Round 4 in the books, Pat Cronin Foundation round, and what a great weekend it was. My name is Brett Thomas. Joining us this week, Nick Boylan from 88.9 Win FM, Adrian Spiteri. Fellas, great to see the league, not just football but also netball, get behind the Pat Cronin Foundation round and wearing the yellow armbands.
Incredibly important. You could tell sort of the respect that was paid throughout the league, really across the teams and all sort of aspects of each club basically on Saturday. It's a really important topic to continue to talk about, particularly as someone who's an educator of young men and women. I think it's really good that we have something like Pat Cronin Foundation in place to support. Obviously, the reason that it exists is a really tragic one, but the work that the foundation does to continue to educate and raise awareness around what's always a really topical issue is a really awesome one. So it was a really great cause to be sort of talked about around the league.
Yeah, be wise, end the coward punch is the message. Spita, a great message that is important to get across to young men in particular.
Oh, absolutely. And, very important to remember the young fella so he's not forgotten, and hopefully it can save another life in another way. So, yeah.
Well, the Pat Cronin Foundation marquee match was the one that you were broadcasting for 88.9, and that's where we'll start with our observations from the weekend. Altona, and Caroline Springs close at half-time, Nick, but the Lakers really kicked away after that.
They did. They took advantage of what was some pretty blustery conditions with it wasn't a 2-goal breeze. It ended up being quite a sizably larger goal breeze than that, but I think that it was just another game that really stamped their authority as a real premiership contender. They dominated things out of midfield, and particularly as well, not just missing Max Dasari at ground level, but Alex Paik as well. I thought BRBR did a really good job as a ruckman in Paik's stead and absence. It was at a wedding on the weekend. So, but Cooper Pepe, again, just a really dominant display from midfield. Their ability to cause a lot of turnovers made Altona's life absolute hell right throughout that game. Down back, Ubal Chol thought was really fantastic. Ben Kalutzi, Jamie Rostowski, basically all the flankers were able to turn defense into attack with frightening pace at stages, and it led to someone like Malik Al-Fakani dominating up forward with 5 goals. Probably should have kicked more. And Steve Kiriatis chipping in with 3 goals of his own. So just really rubber stamping Caroline Springs as a premiership contender once again.
So that was our match of the day, but Sunshine Parkside, 2 teams fairly evenly matched in the middle part of the ladder, and Sunshine get it done, Spitter, 4 points in what was an absolute cracker.
Yeah, absolutely. Parkside leading that one at half-time. We've spoken to Guy Barbudo recently, and you can see the buy-in from the new recruits. Sunshine just look a really, really good side that eyeing off that 5th position.
And Yarraville, Seddon, Spotswood, Battle of the Bridge, talked a lot about that, and you've talked a lot about Yarraville, Spitter, being your tip for the premiership. That was a high-scoring shootout in the end.
Yeah, a 6-goal win where losing side scores 100. It doesn't happen all that often, but Yarraville, even without Hoskin Elliott and Varco, some obvious AFL experience, no problem finding goals with Kane Sexton kicking 5, Green, Catania, Kozlowski all kicking 2. Their midfield is very strong, very polished. I think Spotswood still had Cleaver have a really good game, and I think popped up for 5 himself. But a great round and a great game.
Yes, Sunshine, under 18 graduate Chase Sanders kicking 4 goals. Saw some young fellas really perform well across Pat Cronin Foundation round. Before we get into Div 2, though, other observations from you, Nick, from TIV Division 1 across the weekend?
Yeah, so a couple of really big games. I think Werribee Districts continue to sort of keep on keeping on as another, a side that are going to be obviously a premiership contender trying to go to defend their crown from 2025. Big win by 55 points over Point Cook, and a far cry from when these two sides played off in a grand final a few years ago. And Hoppers Crossing kind of just doing what they need to do at the moment. Probably still waiting for them to really kick off and have a big performance, getting things done over Newport by 19 points, but have kind of struggled against the premiership contenders so far to start this season. They get a really good opportunity to sort of prove their worth again against Caroline Springs this weekend. Yeah,
we can touch on that coming up, but Hoppers have had a few injury issues, haven't they?
Yeah, so obviously, much been talked about the fact that Josh Pickers leaves that midfield as such a dynamic player, transitioning from midfield into attack, really can, take a game apart just off his own boot. The fact that obviously Taron Thomas has come into that side, he's been missing through injury, still a few weeks away with a hand issue there, and Jared Pollock, the coach who's now donned the boots once again, went missing with a hamstring issue. So it's still probably another maybe a week or two away. We're not really 100% sure on that one. So they miss a lot of quality out of that midfield, and we've kind of seen that's been kind of the tail of the tape with the strong performing sides this season that need to get a lot of run and carry and sort of dynamic movement out of the midfield, and that's probably something that Hoppers are lacking at the moment.
We're a month into the season. Div 2, Spita, we're seeing a little bit like what we saw last year, where there is a bit of a gap between the top and then the rest of the league there in Div 2. Yeah,
unfortunately that seems to be the case. I think the top 5 sides are very competitive within each other. I think good sides and playing good football. Braybrook is in there at 5th, at Sunshine Heights maybe at 6th. Playing good football, and they play off against each other actually this week, so that should be a great game. But yeah, the top sides in Wyndhamvale, North Footscray, West Footscray, even Albanvale, who's had a good start to the year. Definitely a little bit of a gap between those sides that are below them.
Well, on the audio version of this podcast, we catch up with Wyndhamvale's senior coach who came through the club as a player, Daniel Smith. So listen out for that on the audio version of the podcast. Tyler Tazari played his 400th game on the weekend, kicked 4 goals. He had a day out, and for a young team, he's the experienced head that they need. That will lead us now into the week ahead. We might as well reverse the order here with Div 2 because Wyndhamvale and North Footscray, which we'll talk a bit more with our match of the day, but Spita, that's clearly one that we're looking forward to in Div 2 after a weekend with some big margins.
Absolutely. You're going to see a closer game. You're going to see a game within its game as the two spearheads go, at loggerheads against each other. You've got Stanton at one end, you've got Lyndon Dunn at the other. You've got excellent midfielders and both well-coached sides that, obviously played off in the grand final last year, as you said. I think we're going to see something special on the weekend.
Okay, TIV Division 1. Albion Werribee Districts, just one match that jumps off the page there for me to see where Albion's at, Nick.
Yeah, I think so. They're a side that continues to build after sort of, getting established in Division 1 again, finding their feet a little bit more. And they've had a good start to the season with the 3 wins, and they've beat the teams that probably expected them to beat. They now get their opportunity to test themselves against the best in the league and, one of the best sides running around in local football at the moment. Can they close that gap against last year's premiers? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Caleb McPherson is the co-captain. His younger brother, Darcy, he shares that with, and we caught up with him on the audio version of the podcast as well. So listen out for Caleb McPherson. Great chat, 3-1, as Nick said. But this is the big test coming up against Werribee Districts this weekend. Other matches that you're looking forward to in round 5? Yeah,
I think Spotswood and Parkside really sort of takes the eye as a really important sort of middle of the table clash. Both sides are really looking to sort of take one of those kind of available spots you'd think in the top 5 that is kind of dangling quite precariously. You think sort of outside, I think Werribee Districts, Caroline Springs and Yarraville set in a little bit as well, and trying to still get a read on Hoppers Crossing. There's that spot that's really sort of begging to be taken, and both sides have had a really good start to the year. Both sides have done a fair bit of work off the field with their off-season recruitment, bringing in some really high-quality players. They've always had a pretty good clash against each other, the Woodsmen and the Magpies. So I think at Donald McLean Reserve, get down if you can.
Yep, looking forward to that. You're probably wondering, in terms of our wrap of the Women's League, Kelrow has the week off, so Justin Jenvey is here to recap St Vincent Private Hospital, Werribee Senior Women's, the weekend that was and the weekend coming up as well.
There were 3 games in round 4 of the St Vincent's Private Hospital Werribee Senior Women's competition. The round kicked off on Friday night with Werribee Centrals securing a narrow victory over Suns. The game featured 2 100-game milestones in Suns pair Tegan McHamilton and Kashina Kincaid. And when play got underway, it was the Suns who were up to the occasion. And the tightly contested opening half saw scores tied at both quarter time and half time before the Suns took a 2-point advantage into the last. But it was the home side who had more in the tank, coming away with a 9-point win to remain undefeated. Julia Nash was again influential for the Centurions, as was Keely Spiteri in her first appearance of the season. While Megan Bastow kicked multiple goals for the 3rd straight week, Kashina Kincaid was best for the Suns. On Saturday morning, Laverton travelled to Wyndhamvale, and in the Battle of the Birds, it was the Falcons coming away with a 27-point win over the Magpies. Laverton entered the clash chasing a 3rd straight win, but it was Wyndhamvale who started strongly. The visitors hit back in the second term before 8 points separated the teams at three-quarter time. In the last, Wyndhamvale was able to build on its advantage thanks to the efforts of Carla Harrison, Chloe Pryor and Larissa Renault. Renault finished with a game-high 4 goals for the Falcons. Laverton's best were Madison Duss and Molly Pianta. In Saturday's final game, Parkside Spurs continued their dominant start to the season with a big win over West Footscray. The win was highlighted by 9 individual goal kickers, with Alicia Casley the best of them as she bagged a game-high 6. Spurs remain a class above, and along with Werribee Centrals have now won 4 from 4. Zara Harmden and Layla Dawkins battled hard for West Footscray. Meanwhile, a quick look at the goal-kicking table, and after their performances in round 4, Alicia Casley and Larissa Renault are currently tied at the top of the leaderboard, with both players currently having 12 goals to their name. Looking ahead to this weekend's fixtures, and round 5 will see all 5 matches take place on Saturday. Suns and Laverton at Goddard Street Reserve could be the game of the round. The Suns may only have 1 win so far, but they've been hard to score against and will be eager to get some reward for effort in the form of 4 points. It will also be interesting to see how Point Cook Centrals fare against Werribee Centrals. The Sharks women will enter fresh from a week off.
Thank you for that, Justin. Time now for the latest instalment of the Arrow Transport Challenge. I've got a new one for them, fellas, just to throw in. Trying to keep these balls straight on the table. And how many can we get on the table? But no, seriously, though, let's see how the next lot of our players fare in the first of 4 challenges, the Forklift Basket Challenge. Looking forward to this.
Get moving with Arrow.
We're here for the Arrow Transport Challenge with the Western Football Netball League, competing with different teams and different players. Jack Robinson, Altona Football Netball Club. Oh no, good start. Sam Roberts Tarnik Football Club. Oh no.
St. Cadwa Newport Football Club.
Mandy C, Suns Football Netball Club. Might be too hard. Oh, one more, I think.
All right, here now are our Skin Special Effort Award winners. We love this. Great recognition for a special effort on the footy field and the netball court across both senior and junior competitions. All winners will receive a pair of compression tights thanks to Skins. Plays of the Week time, guys. We love this. Leading us into Plays of the Week, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of goals in there because we've seen some big bags. This is like the halcyon days of Ablett, Dunstall and Lockett, especially in Div 2, fellas.
Yeah, Chase Wassell kicking 11 goals for Braybrook on the weekend. Obviously, it's been you talked about Lyndon Dunn and Lewis Stanton kicking goals for fun at the moment in Division 2. It's if you're a fan of forwards, you're having a great time. But if you're a defensive line coach at the moment, you're probably having an absolute nightmare trying to tear your hair out.
Yeah, no doubt. And you also mentioned those goals. You got Jack Vivians kicked 8 as well. You had Daniel Nielsen kick 8 in Division 1. Ahmed Saad kick a bag of 6. Nicholas Gregson kick a bag of 6. So big goals over the weekend.
Yeah, Nick, it's not just sort of the big Lyndon Dunn types. We're seeing players, even in TIV Division 1, maybe not 7, 8, 9, 10 goals, but guys that are getting on the score sheet that aren't the traditional kind of throwback full forwards?
100%. I think that given the fact that game's being played a lot quicker, it's been something of a talking point amongst the coaches to start this season. It's meant that forward lines are pretty open, and you're seeing guys who are, they're the small forwards or kind of those more medium-sized forwards who are really able to use their tank to get up the ground and then sort of circle back inside 50 to create space for themselves. The likes of Malik Al-Fakani, who was one of the best on ground for Caroline Springs on the weekend, kicked 5, probably should have kicked a couple more. Steve Kiriatis, again, is another one of those Lakers forwards who's not traditionally like a big key forward, but they're really able to dominate the air with just some really superb forward craft, but then at ground level as well, where they really start working their way into kind of the highlights packages of the weekend.
Yep, plenty of great highlights across the weekend in senior footy. Here's the best of them.
On the last line of defence. He goes down the corridor. Kiriatis chopped it off with one hand, takes him up, plays on, runs to the goal line, slams it through. He finally gets a goal, Steve Kiriatis.
That was Players of the Week. Time now to go more in depth about our match of the day. TIV Division 2 Senior Men's, North Footscray, Wyndhamvale. Nick, I'm not sure if you're on the broadcast for 88.9 Win FM, but this is going to be an absolute cracker.
It should be. I think still deciding whether that's actually happening this weekend, if I'm going to be there or not, but everyone else should be there to go watch this game, a grand final rematch between the two out-and-out powerhouses of Division 2 football at the moment. The fact that North Footscray were able to cause Wyndhamvale a loss last year that they were smarting about and suitably dealt with them in the grand final. These sides have got history and they've got goals. One of the things that we talked about, and Spita, you mentioned the fact that obviously Stanton and Dunn are kicking bags for fun at the moment. They're both on ton watch. Lyndon Dunn is about 5 or 6 goals, I think, ahead of pace, basically, of where Lewis Stanton was last year for his 100. So I'm hoping that both coaches at least, don't try to send, 3 or 4 defenders, basically, at these guys and turn it into a good show. But there's obviously some really fantastic players, not just inside the arcs for both sides.
Yeah, correct. I think you mentioned Sianos, particularly for North Footscray. It just goes on, to be honest. Some really good quality players both into the field. I don't think there's going to be anyone double teaming any of the forwards. I think it's just going to let them play and let the goals rain.
Yeah, can't wait. It has a bit of a feel of Geelong St Kilda, round 14, I think it was 2009. 2 unbeaten teams. This is a lot earlier in the season, but it feels like 2 teams that will obviously be thereabouts at the pointy end of the season. Yeah,
I think absolutely that if there's a side that isn't North Footscray and Wyndhamvale in the grand final, it'd be quite a major shock, and definitely a pleasant one. I think would be great, but I think that these are the 2 sides that we kind of expect to be there in the last day of football for Division 2.
Yeah, our match of the day at Hanson Reserve, 2:10, first bounce. Sportscast Australia broadcasting that. You can watch it live via the local footy hub or 88.9 Win FM. That broadcast will start from 1:30. On our WFNL Media Day, we caught up with Liam Scarborough, the captain from Wyndhamvale. Every Premier needs to evolve and get better, so what can we expect to see from Wyndhamvale this year that might be different to what we saw last season?
We've got a few new players come in this year, a few new big targets down forward, so we're definitely going to be different in that aspect. So
pretty competitive for spots going into this year. You've had a lot on the track.
Yeah, definitely. Like we're seeing like team structures and stuff. I reckon we've got about 35 to choose from for our ones.
Yep.
Quite healthy at the moment, so which is good. Touch wood. So we'll see.
Were you hoping to go up to Div 1 though and test yourself out against?
Oh, obviously you obviously want to have that test and see if you can match with the best. Well, there maybe 6-7 years ago didn't quite pan out for us, but if we get the opportunity this year to win and then go up to Div 1, I think it'll be a different story.
North Footscray, obviously you lost to them a couple of times, got them in the grand final. That semi-final though was just some horrendous footy. I mean, even though you lost,
what did we kick? 3 goals, 17 or 2-17, cost us in the end, and then come grand final day, sharpened that up and got the result we wanted.
What changed from the other 2 times that you played them? Like, what was the game plan, the thinking going into?
Just kicking straight, pretty much. Look, nothing changed game plan wise or structure wise. It was pretty much just kicking straight.
So it's not just local footy hub where you can see TIV Division 1, Division 2, but also live streaming now Belgravia Apparel Netball Competition matches. So we've got men's and women's matches happening. Head to Local Footy Hub /stream on a Friday night to catch some of the key netball matchups taking place each week. Jordan Dallaston will be back on the WFNL show next week as well. Fellas, thanks for your company today. Looking forward to the weekend ahead, where we hope that you'll be out there at Hanson Reserve, Nick.
I hope so too.
And Spita, what about you? Where are we going to find you this weekend? Mowing lawns or watching footy?
I think I'm going to head down and watch Altona, see if they can bounce back against Yarraville Seddon. Interesting clash. I think Varco returning to Altona should make it a little bit spicier. Altona's been very disappointing the past couple of weeks, so it'd be nice to see if there's some improvement there.
Yep, plenty to look forward to across all age groups and divisions in the Western Football Netball League. Fellas, thanks for joining us on the WFNL show, presented by Arrow Transport.